Psychoanalysis and Spirituality, Dasha Mahavidya, Bhairavi. Journey into Mahavidyas brings us now to the sixth Mahavidya, Bhairavi. In our discussions before, we have discussed from Kali to Tara to Tripura Sundari to Bhuvneshwari to Chinnamasta, and now we discuss Bhairavi. What is the story of origin and what is the iconographic depiction of Bhairavi? There are different stories of origin, and each story is used by a different school in a different way. Based upon the way the story is going to be used, the story is selected in the first place because there are multiple options on the story of origin. There are many stories of origin. Let's take three of them. One story of origin says Sati had gone far away to do tapasya, penance, and Lord Shiva wanted to find where she was. He went around, could not find her, so he decided to call the celestial wandering guru, Narad. And Narad traced Sati doing penance far away. Shiva asked Narad where she was, and he went there. And the penance was broken, and Sati became very angry and took the form of Bhairavi. Another story goes that Shiva, in his yogic practices, took the form of Nar Nareshwar, Ardhanareshwar, and after having achieved this in his tapasya, he decided to separate the feminine part of him away into Prakriti and regain his anchor in the masculine part of him, and that separated feminine part of him became Bhairavi, which would mean Shiva then becomes the Bhairav, and the separated feminine part of Shiva, the feminine counterpart of Shiva, becomes Bhairavi. And obviously, just as Shiva has the benign form and the Kal Bhairav form, the Bhairavi correspondingly also has a benign form and a destructive form. The form worshipped in the Mahavidya is the intense and destructive form, not the benign form, which is worshipped in certain other practices, but not much in the Mahavidya context. Another story goes as this. There is a contest of words between Shiva and Parvati, and she swallows Shiva completely. And then Shiva opens his third eye, and Devi is burnt completely from inside and Shiva comes out, and then the Devi takes two forms. One, the burnt away dark form, and second is the smoke. And the burnt dark form is referred to as Bhairavi, and the smoke transforms into a Devi referred to as Dhumavati. Another story goes as this. This is also a story of origin, that Tripura Sundari releases desires. Tripura Sundari releases desires and creates Bhuvaneshwari. The desires released of Tripura Sundari through Bhuvaneshwari are so numerous, it leads to a celestial anarchy, a celestial clutter, a celestial chaos. And Bhuvaneshwari prays to her to create a form that can undertake the destructive process, which will balance the creative process, or at least make the creative process sustainable in the space and in the manifestation where elements are interacting with each other. And in order to have a balanced manifestation in existence, Tripura Sundari releases an emanation of her, Tripura Bhairavi, and in a way, existence proceeds by a balance between Bhuvaneshwari and Tripura Bhairavi. One constructive aspect and a destructive aspect. It's almost like Brahma and Shiva in their feminine, intense counterpart forms. So these are various stories of origin, and different schools use different stories based upon how they wish to proceed in their practice. So there is a central practice which by and large is common, which has to deal with the yantra, the mantra, the core procedure of tantra, and the core overall structure of Dash Mahavidya. And then there are details of practice which differ from school to school. And the selection of the story is based upon those detailed practices. So these are the stories of origin. We come to the depiction. Depiction is of a fierce mother with the brilliance of 1,000 suns. We are back to a garland of skulls, 4 hands with a rosary, book, boons, and assurance. So the garland of skulls continues, but the hands are holding more benign entities to give. Less of the brutal weapons we see in the previous forms of Kali, Tara, Chinnamasta. 3 eyes representing the 3 gunas, Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. They are shown lotus-like. Lotus is a very popular symbol of being untouched by environment and also of sublimation. Wears a jewel crown and there are jewels all around. She is smiling and brilliant. She is said to be in a verbal narrative description. She is said to be the source of speech, the first word. She is also said to be the source of Amrita, nectar. She is related to destruction and almost comes across as the feminine aspect of feminine counterpart of not aspect but a counterpart of Kal Bhairav. She is said to destroy the universe when the age of the universe ends, and she also is related to Tamas. On the other hand, she is also related to the vital prana, and she is the one who can give freedom from six passions of lust, greed, delusion, intoxication, anger, and envy. It almost comes across as a Devi for psychotherapy. All negative affects, difficult aspects of the psyche, often instinctually rooted, she helps overcome. And she is also said to be the Devi of Kundalini. So, many who practice Kundalini yoga of a particular type, they also pray or specialize more or focus more on Bhairavi. So, this is the story of origin and the depiction and description. The mantra is Hussain, Bij mantra, sorry. The Bij mantra is Hussain, Hasakarim, Hussain. Some would pronounce as Hussain, Hasakarim, Hussain. Second pronunciation appears more accurate to me, but the final opinion comes only from a qualified group. Like Tara in Tibetan Buddhism, Bhairavi also has many forms outside of Mahavidya. So in the context of Mahavidya, Tara and Bhairavi both have their Ugra or fierce forms. But in Tibetan Buddhism, Tara has many forms. Some talk about 21, some talk about 14, some even talk about 51. Similarly, Bhairavi also has many forms. But in the context of Mahavidya, the fierce form is worshipped. From a chakra standpoint, Bhairavi sadhana helps resolve issues related to Muladhara, Swadhisthana, and Vishuddha. And this has an indirect impact on the heart chakra, Anahata, and Manipur chakra, the solar plexus. Reason being, in most difficult cases, when the Muladhara, Swadhisthana, and Vishuddha are overflowing, the pent up affect or prana goes first accumulates in these chakras, then goes into their backside counterparts. So if Muladhara is the front solar, when it gets filled up, things go to the back solar. Similarly, when heart chakra gets filled up, it goes into back heart, and then much of it flows into Manipur. And so, in a sense, indirectly, the heart chakra and Manipur chakra are indirectly helped. But the focus is on Muladhara, Swadhisthana, and Vishuddha. We see this pattern in the entire Mahavidya structure or compendium, that we return to the same elemental to be resolved or purified or enhanced or managed in a particular way. And it's not necessary that we return to the same elemental in a continuous way, like 3 Devis for Muladhara, then 3 Devis for Swadhisthana. That is not the structure. The structure is you return in different ways to the same elementals in different packages. So, if we look at death, pain, fear, attachment, by and large, all the fears Mahavidyas address this in some way, but they do it in different packages. So, in Tara, we see Mooladhara and Swadhisthana being addressed, and here we see Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, and Vishuddha. So Mooladhara and Swadhisthana are again addressed, but along with Vishuddha in a different package. So we return to Mooladhara and Swadhisthana again through a different route, through a different package, with a different yantra, with a different mantra. And the same Mooladhara and Swadhisthana get acted upon with different mantras, different yantras, different practices in a different sequence. Bhuvneshwari works very well on self-belief, and similarly Bhairavi works very well for freedom, freedom from the strange hold of negative affect. In one sense, therefore, it appears Bhuvneshwari is like Tripura Sundari who releases desires and creation, and Tripura Bhairavi who controls it by destruction. It's like Brahma and Mahesh. In another way, both of them, Bhuvneshwari and Bhairavi, are emanations of Tripura Sundari, which seem to be more accurate to me, but some look at it, this relationship of each Devi to the other in different ways. The sequence also is very important. The first 2 Devis deal with destruction, third with desire, fourth with creation, fifth with maintenance, and so on. Not fifth with maintenance, fourth with creation and maintenance in a way, and fifth in transcendence. And with Bhairavi, it works primarily with focus on prana, Vishuddha Chakra, speech, and destruction in nature and in human life. So we come back here from a psychoanalytic standpoint, that from psychoanalytic standpoint, Bhairavi takes us back to the theme of destruction and death. The same theme on which Kali and Tara also work in different ways. In their minute details, in the finacy, how does Bhairavi work differently from them is a difficult question to answer. One way to answer it is to say that if we look at the entire collection of destructive forces, maybe each of these Devis address different sets of sub-forces that constitute the full collection of destructive forces. Or partly, maybe we are returning to the same force after doing certain sadhana with a different yantra and different mantra, because possibly the elemental forces are so difficult that they cannot be healed or resolved or mastered by a single mantra or a single yantra. So you repeat, you come back to it again and again. The sadhana of Bhairavi also has to deal with mourning and separation, with ends of attachment. It also has to deal with expression. which is one of the core aspects of therapy. Expression not only of the known, also of the mystically expressed in dreams and fantasies, also of the beta elements waiting to be alphabetized, and the pre-verbal or non-verbal elements in the unconscious, and exhaustive expression of the unconscious. Those who do Reiki or pranic healing, any form of energy healing, that can possibly go very well with Bhairavi. Bhairavi also is worshipped or worked with in sadhana to overcome the classical difficulties we work with in psychoanalysis of addiction, envy, sexuality, greed, delusion, aggression. It's almost like Freud Klein combined. A Devi for Freud Klein combined kind of package of inner working. One way to speculate, and we can only speculate because credible opinion can only be given by a qualified master, but to speculate, one speculation can be that Kali deals with material death, death at the very physical level, by taking even the physical existence into pure inertia. It's almost like a super black hole where matter itself is taken into a complete annihilation, into inertia. Tara is more related to biological death, and sexuality, which is intertwined and entangled with excitement and fear. And Bhairavi dealing more with the pranic death, the death of the pranic body, or death as it operates at the pranic level. We return to the same fundamental problems in all the Mahavidyas, again and again in different packages with different yantras and tantras and mantras. And Bhairavi represents in a way destruction for construction. It is destruction of difficult aspects for construction, at times even destruction of something supposedly good for something better. And at the root, we are talking about aggression at the service of eros. Like we saw in Chinnamasta, aggression at the service of eros. And we are referring to transformation to a state where aggression always is at the service of eros without an option. Because the option of aggression being at the service of thanatos is ruled out at the very roots because of destruction of thanatos. And this destruction obviously cannot be at this stage of evolution a physical destruction of thanatos. It is more of a psychological destruction of thanatos. Thank you.